temporal bone, part of the posterior cranial fossa, squamous part of temporal bone, it's the flat end, inside and out. Everything else is the petrous part of temporal bone. Let's go to the major parts. Eminence, foramen lacerum, foramen ovale, jugular foramen, internal auditory meatus. From here, lateral pterygoid plate, foramen ovale, medial pterygoid plate, foramen lacerum. Posterior to foramen ovale, foramen spinosum. Posterior to foramen spinosum, large circular carotid canal. Okay, now by the book again. Groove and hiatus for lesser petrosal nerve. Groove and hiatus for lesser petrosal nerve going towards foramen ovale, which is over here. Groove and hiatus for greater petrosal nerve. It's over here again. Hindi ko alam, kita eh. It's very small. Lesser and then greater. Lesser is going towards foramen ovale. Greater is going towards foramen lacerum. Accruate eminence. Here. And here. Accruate eminence. Trigeminal impression. Trigeminal impression is the large impression, lateral, posterolateral to the foramen lacerum. Location of foramen lacerum, and then the groove. Foramen lacerum again, and then the groove, posterolaterally. That's the trigeminal impression. Carotid canal. On the foramen lacerum, carotid canal is headed laterally, foramen lacerum straight. Foramen lacerum, carotid canal. At the back, foramen lacerum, and then carotid canal. Circular, large. Circular and large, headed from medial to lateral. And then the large one over here is the foramen lacerum. Groove for superior petrosal sinus. Arcuate eminence, and then groove. Same thing, arcuate eminence, and then groove over here. Groove for superior petrosal sinus. And then we have groove for sigmoid sinus, which is here. And here, same thing. Internal acoustic meatus is this over here. Internal acoustic meatus is over here. acromion eminence. Posterior to that, we have the groove for superior petrosa sinus. Posterior to that, on the wall, we have internal acoustic meatus. Opening of vestibular aqueduct. That's between internal acoustic meatus and the jugular foramen. Between internal acoustic meatus and the jugular foramen, you have your opening of the vestibular aqueduct right here. Okay. Okay, we have the temporal bone. This temporal bone suture. Occipital bone suture. Sphenoid frontal suture. Suture is the joints separating them. This is the parietal bone. So on the inside, this is the parietal bone. Okay. We're looking for group 4 parietal branches of middle meningeal vessels. It's right here. That's a groove. The other side, I can't really see it on the other side because we only have space for the temporal bone, but in here we have more space for the parietal, so it's more visible here. Parietal bone and the groove. And then mastoid angle. Mastoid process, part of the temporal bone. The suture between the occipital bone and the temporal. So over here. The suture between the temporal and the parietal is over here. This part is called the asterion. Occipital, temporal, parietal, this suture. Okay. Okay. So, occipital bone. This one. Here. And then inside. This area right here. Occipital bone. And then we have the clivus part. Clivus. This area. This is the antero-superior half of clivus, postero-inferior half of the clivus. Group for petrosal sinus. The petrosal sinus over here. The reference point is the jugular foramen. Petrosal sinus, left and right. We have the basilar part of the occipital bone. This is the basilar part of the occipital bone. Anterior to the occipital condyle, you have the basilar part. The protuberance, not included in here, that's the pharyngeal tubercle. Pharyngeal tubercle in the center, basilar part on the side. The whole structure is bastion. Group for posterior meningeal vessels. The vessels here are smaller. Down there. There's another one in here. Go. Superior, inferior. And the vessels are more prominent in the parietal and temporal area, but not so much on the frontal and the occipital. But it's there. So for these are the only prominent ones. Okay. Group for transverse sinus. Sinus, transverse sinus. Left and right. Group for occipital sinus. Internal occipital crest. This is the internal occipital crest. Then we have the internal occipital protuberance. This is your external occipital protuberance. Internal is just right behind it. Internal occipital protuberance. Group for the sagittal sinuses. It's this one. We have foramen magnum. Mastoid foramen. Mastoid process of the temporal bone. Mastoid foramen. Right there, the hole. Condylar canal. Occipital condyle. Posterior to occipital condyle, you have your condylar canal. Occipital condyle, condylar canal. Jugular foramen. From here, this is the jugular foramen. From inside the skull is jugular foramen. Right here. Hypoglossal canal. This is your occipital condyle. Hypoglossal canal is anterior. Occipital condyle, hypoglossal canal, both sides. Posterior to the hypoglossal canal, you have your condylar canal.